play, hit and shoot. Hello, just hanging out at Sarasota, Lido Beach they call it. This is the beach where a guy named B.J. Palmer came to live when he retired. And he had a house over here. We'll try to show you that house. And Ringling was here, Firestone, all those kind of guys back in the day. In the 20s and 30s, they came here to retire. And B.J. Palmer sat over here, and he had a typewriter that had a reel on it. 2 reels, like a scroll, and he just kept on typing and typing and typing and typing. And then he transcribed those over to books called the Green Books. And the Green Books were supposed to be the condensation of chiropractic knowledge that B.J. Palmer had accrued. Now, B.J. Palmer was the son of D.D. Palmer, Daniel David Palmer. So there's Daniel David Palmer, B.J. Palmer, and then David Daniel Palmer was in the 60s. He ran the school in the 60s. But B.J. came down here, retired much like a day like this, and he typed out a book called The Subluxation Specific. And that's a book that we follow like our Bible. And maybe chiropractors don't do it much today, but the older chiropractors do it. It explained this thing called a subluxation, which is a misalignment of a vertebrae compared to the bone above and the bone below. And that's a subluxation. It's not luxated, it's a subluxation. And that's the word he wanted us to use to describe this lesion that you get in your spine that causes an interference of the flow from above, down, inside, and out. So they called it ADIO. ADIO, above, down, inside, and out. And then he, pretty much the last 20 years of his life, he only adjusted the top 2 vertebrae in the spine. And he called that the hole-in-one, like a golf term, but it was called a hole-in-one. So the axis has a little pin, and the atlas has a circle, and it sits in there like that, and that is how the head turns. And the head's supposed to turn 90 degrees, of course, right? And you keep this curve in your lower neck, and you only lose the lower curve when you reach 46 degrees. Your neck comes down and straightens out, so you can go and start to use C3. So you use C1 to 45 degrees, and at 46 degrees, you use C3 for 5 more degrees, then C4 for 5 more degrees. So you're really not supposed to use C5 until right here. And if you take an x-ray, most of the people out here, his neck from the side, you're gonna see C5 vertebrae worn out. And the medical people and a lot of chiropractors will say, oh, that's degenerative disease, degenerative joint disease. It's not a degenerative disease. You don't have a degenerative disease. What you're doing is when you get to 46 degrees, you're bringing your neck straight so you can turn C3, C4, C5. Now what happens is if your atlas up here at the top gets stiff or tight from looking down at books and looking down at the computer and so forth, so you come across and you start to use C3 right away. So now we're using C3 right at the beginning. Now you're 4 and then you're 5 right here. So you're using the lower mid vertebrae way too early in the rotation of your neck. So you got C4, C5, C6, and now you haven't even looked over your shoulder yet. So you have to straighten your neck and keep on turning it, and you're wearing out C5. So the reason why even you, whoever watching this, go get an x-ray of the side of your neck. I know you don't have any pain yet, but imagine if you could check your tires before you wear them out and get more mileage out of them. If you can get a side view x-ray, it's called a lateral x-ray. And if you just went to your family physician or somebody and just get a lateral x-ray, and you're gonna see this mid C5 vertebrae, I guarantee you, it's gonna have more wear and tear on it than the other vertebrae. And you're going, well, why is that vertebrae all? And he's gonna say, well, you have degenerative joint disease. You don't have a disease. You're using it too early in the turning of your neck. And that causes you to straighten your neck too early. And then your neck is staying straight. Your body gives up on returning the curve. So if it has to be used all the time, the body just keeps it straight. That's the reason why you have a straight or a military neck, they call it, or hypolordosis. This is the lordosis. So you have a hypolordosis, your neck is straight, and the disc is weighted all the time. You're supposed to be able to come back to here and unweight the disc, and the disc can get a sip of water and recover. It's because you're not supposed to use C5 until right there at 47, 48, 49 degrees. And everybody pretty much, because of the tension we have at the base of our skull, it's locking up that atlas on that pin, because guess what? There's no disc there. There's no disc at C1 and C2. The first disc is at C2, C3, because God designed it to work initially. That's what you're supposed to use all day, the first 90 degrees of your neck, back and forth. How often do you go over here? But you're supposed to use the atlas and axis right here. And that's what B.J. Palmer decided. And in his last 20 years of his life, he only adjusted, and I'll put a video up. We have video of him adjusting people in a thing called a knee chest posture, where you came down and you're on your hands and knees, and you turn your head to the side, and he would come in from the side because he knew he had to get that atlas moving. If you get the atlas freed up, you pretty much have the rest of the vertebrae are sleeping most of the day. But most people are out here wondering. And then if you get over to here, here's another little trick, and you can't see over your shoulder, you start to do a thing called recruiting. You start to recruit your thoracic spine. So what happens is you go, you C1 and C2 are out, let's say, stuck from looking down and you know all the things we do. So now we're going to do, let's say, C3, 4, 5, 6, 7, C7. We're out of cervical vertebrae. We're going to recruit the first thoracic vertebrae. T1, T2, back the car out of the garage, T4, T5. And you wonder why all these ribs are popping out and why my doc, Now the problem with that is they discovered that the C5 disc is the one you're going to see on your x-ray. The C5 disc is almost gone. You're going to see it. It's compressed. It's in trouble. C1 and 2 look like brand new. But you get down to 4 and 5, you're going to see that it's got some wear and tear on it that it shouldn't have. It should be brand new. And with the C5 disc, it's in trouble. Here's a big trick most people don't know. Guess what you get? You get radiating pain to here, right on this rhomboid. And people come in all the time, for years came in, doc, it hurts right there. And you think, oh, it's a rib. Oh, it's a rib. That's just that rib, just that rib. It's not the rib. They found out that the embryonic origin of the C5 disc is related to a nerve that goes to the rhomboid nerve. So the C5 disc, and you can poke it with a needle, let's say, if it was out here, and you wouldn't even know I was poking it. It has no sensation. But it has an embryonic origin to the 5th nerve, and that radiates to right there. And that's what you get, this pain, when C5 disc is in trouble. I've had people come in with whiplash, and all of a sudden they get pain right there. I go down there, no ribs are out, nothing's being recruited even, and we're having trouble with this spot right here. And people work on the rib and work on the rib and work on the rib. It's not a rib or a vertebrae out here. It's some kind of, we don't even know how to find it in the body when we dissect. There's a relationship between the C5 disc destruction, which most of the people, you included, are finding on your x-rays, and you get a symptom right here. And I was in practice probably for 5-6 years before I discovered that that spot in the rhomboid right there is related to the 5th disc. And that's why you want to keep your atlas nice and loose, keep it adjusted, as B.J. Palmer did the last 20 years of his life. He only adjusted the top 2 vertebrae, and he said, the school can't teach the lower spine anymore. We're going to just teach the atlas and the axis. He developed a, see, I can turn my arm like that. Most people can't do that. What the heck? So I'm turning my arm like that because that's how you adjust. You send a force down to your pisiform into that atlas to cause it to turn. So he had developed special adjustments, and they've thrown all that away pretty much today. Nobody's doing it. They can call it, you go to an upper cervical doctor, that's what he's supposed to do. And of course we do upper cervical. I was trained and raised on upper cervical because I felt like that was the way my rest of my spine was being distorted because of how distorted my atlas and how tight that was. I recruited other vertebrae that they shouldn't have been working. So have a good day. Go to the beach. Thank you. Oh, by the way, do the bell and ring the bell and sign and subscribe and help the algorithm find me.